Thank you. We're going to do a spiritual empowerment today, reminding you of who and what you are before God in heaven, before eternity. In spiritual consciousness, we were never born. You were never born. No one has ever died. Everyone should know that. What we're going to do now is go into the basic fact of the full experience of what they call illumination, enlightenment, God consciousness. So people throughout the East that I've spent a lot of time with simply sit across from you and you feel the presence. It's called a transmission. You feel the warmth, the decency, the kindness of not the person who's giving the transmission, which would be a monk or a lama, as I've experienced with many, many friends, many times throughout my life. And they're simply present. They're a vehicle of the transmission. Because when you understand that you can't die, it's in your consciousness. It's not mental, it's not emotional, it's not something you read and have faith in. It's an experience. It's lighter than air, softer than the evening sky, and kinder than a kitten. So you remind yourself that you're made of spiritual presence, light, kindness, decency, and a genius and an intelligence. God knows. In other words, you have to prove yourself wherever you go, whatever you do, you have to change your identity with all communications. And you can tell if someone's with you or not, right? If you have a great instructor in anything, or a mom or a friend who's with you, you can tell if someone's with you or not, right? So when you step away from all the insanity of the everyday quietly, through this process of meditation, of spiritual empowerment, where you find a way to secure a space, they call it feng shui, where you can create a space, like in a martial arts dojo, where they would have a picture of the master there, and they call it the Wa. There's a whole sense of the spiritual empowerment that you get from using that particular art form to quiet yourself, to live with dignity, honor, integrity, and fearlessness. Not fearlessness because you're tough, but because you're with your teacher's with you. You feel the presence of my friend Greg here. When he's teaching, I feel great Grandmaster Mr. Castro with him and the teachers. There's a lineage. In the same way in a family, you have your mom, your grandmom. You have all these things that are part of the process of not being here in the world, which is the point of meditation. We're not here. When you get quiet in your meditation, you go back before your birth. And the world never was. I could explain this in more depth and detail, but all of us who are spiritual feel this, know this, understand this, so let's go deeper and deeper until there's nowhere to go. Just as quiet. The sound is the ocean floor. The sound is you. The sound is me. Everything in the phenomenological world is like not even like driftwood on top of the Pacific Ocean, middle somewhere. It's not even a splinter. And you're the ocean, you're the sea, you're the sky above, the earth beneath, infinity surrounding. That's who you are. You can quiet your mind through many different ways. It's like when I have people at my place, I had my friend Carlos, the master teacher of martial arts, the other day, and I had him, he had an awful lot going on. He's building, he's changing, he's developing new programs for other people, he's running a gym, all at the same time. And simply had him sit down quietly and tell me 3 or 4 things he's going on, and when he says them, then I acknowledge it. Got it. So if you listen to people and acknowledge, it'll all go off. If you have some being, some good or bad being in your presence you're not sure of, and you simply ask something very lightly of it. And it will be shocked. In other words, you cannot react to anyone or anything. When you work with people spiritually, as an instructor, a teacher, a friend, there are many different words for it. A facilitator, you can call it. It's not about you. It's never about you. It's always about the other person. So if you're the teacher, we spoke about in the dojo before, my friend Moriyama Sensei 50 years ago, the Aikido master, you're with your clients. You're nobody. You're just happy, you're free, you're alive, and you're completely aware and with your student, or your teacher, or a friend, or someone in peril in life, in any sense. You can be very quiet and just be aware of them. And in this process, in the beginning, you might simply be interested. You should never be bored. You can simply be interested in the space you're in. And you should never be aligned with the dark forces by believing in all your traumas, your traumatic incidences in your life. You let them go by the same process of simply being aware of it and aware of it. In Zen meditation, you simply first you quiet your sensorial field, all your emotions, you let them fall down the depths of your abdomen. And you can feel the abdomen expanding and releasing with inhalation, exhalation. Do this on your own for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. And as soon as you get the idea that the thinking mind is simply a sense, you should never do thinking here. You should feel and know everything. And then everything you ever do, everything you ever experience, everything you'll ever be with or around will be healed, fulfilled, generously by this thing behind us that we call Almighty, Infinite, Endless God, our Father and our friend. God is an infinite intelligence. It's not the great void. It's the great wonderfulness. God is a person. And as soon as we quiet ourselves in the same way that we address anything by not reacting to it, well, one day God himself will address us and we'll know that that's what it is. Because we'll be so quiet, so calm. So simply resolute in this challenge of meditation to not react to anything. And then the intelligence of infinity that we call God will simply fall down with our breathing into our abdomen, and we'll find God meditating with us in a pure state. Imagine an infant child in your care, and that's how you'll address God. That's how God will address us, though with an absolute awareness and intelligence and decency and otherworldly calm. Because that's what we are. That's where we are. That's what's here. Not the planet Earth or our beginnings or ends. Just this simplicity, this kindness, this wonder. More than anything, you'll know that it is you. But because of your humility, you can never accept that. So you'll fall deeper and deeper within yourself. I talked to a samurai friend of mine who's so deep, so powerful, the most powerful human being I've ever met on every physical as well as metaphysical level. No one knows that he's that unless you are that, or that's true. So I'll see him, I bow to him lightly, and you'll fall deeper and deeper, and it gets more quiet and more simple and more wonderful to know someone like that. It's like true love, where you don't want or need anything from the person. It just quiets everything in you. It's beautiful to love someone that dear, that precious, that spiritual and aware. Because to have true love, both people have to be transcendent of the everyday, right? And to just appreciate a person like that. They say in Latin there's 16 different words for love, and there's a different word for that spiritually. In our everyday vernacular, we call that kind of love God. And God calls that kind of love you. Isn't it you? We could say you don't deserve all the madness of the day. We have so much more going for us, but it's not even that thought. When we do an empowerment, when Greg teaches his students, he wants them to be as strong as they can possibly be, because he knows what a child or an adult or anyone goes through in this life. Or when he teaches women self-defense, he teaches them very directly and very powerfully, because he wants them to be free to be who they are, to be safe in their own skin. Imagine dealing directly with God as your master teacher. And that's what meditation, this art and perhaps science of meditation, requires. That we understand that there is a God, and that this whole experience in the world, from the beginning of what we call birth, where you allowed the infinity of your presence to fall into this plane of beingness that is a hell, the only hell in the universe. There are many, but it's all associated. And every spiritual person knows this and feels this. We talked last week about many Tibetan friends I had, and certainly Hindu. They're simply real. And I've known them all around the world, but living alone, and known them in little apartments, or some might be with royalty or whatever, but they're not lonely or empty or lost. They're not like, oh, they couldn't make it in the real world. No, they're enormously powerful, wonderful, intelligent, kind, caring, decent. They could fulfill any position on the earth, but they wouldn't want to, because they're not of the earth. It makes sense? There is a God. There is a state of illumination, and it's yours. And it's time for you to pick up your scepter of light. This time around, you will fulfill your spiritual destiny. Our only problem is that we're humble, and we'll never actually quite accept that, even though we'll do it on behalf of all the decent people we see in the world that are well-intended. Maybe a lost love, our mom, a friend, somebody that may have died for you. And that'll create a generous sense of humility within us, because we're doing it for those that we love. So we'll withstand all the battlements of the earth god, because it'll go crazy on us the first few months. And when I mention this, I always laugh, because I love it when it happens to me, and different times when I realize years on I could always have people experience God easily. And I thought that would be my destiny. And I'm speaking for the hundreds of millions of spiritual people that are in the world. We all feel this way. I'm simply a voice of it, just for today, for now, for you, for me, for him, for those that we love. So when it starts attacking you, all the words I'm saying right now, it's original innocence, not original guilt. You'll realize that you dropped in this as a perfect being, a part of God, to end the madness, all of it, in the world forever. So when the dark force attacks you early on in your meditation, you'll feel God first, and then you'll know this is worthwhile. In India, where I spent time with different gurus, they're all friends that were friends of friends. And when a student would have an initial enlightenment experience, then they'd have them sit in a little room in the back there, and they'd have one of the sisters and one of the people would bring them some tea and some food a few times a day, because you're in a state of what they called samadhi, where you're just in this state of like bliss, it's golden light that you perceive, and you're very delicate, you're very sensitive. And that's why it's important to shut down all the activities in your life that you can. And then if you can't, it doesn't matter either, because you'll have the battlements of God with you. You'll be safe, you'll be secure. But in the beginning, you want to enjoy this and see this and revel in it. It's quite wonderful, the enormous experiences that we're going to experience in the beginning. So overwhelming. And then when we're attacked by the dark forces, of which we're talking about the last 5 minutes, it's going to be fun, because it's really grotesque and horrible and evil and vile and makes you feel guilty about this or that, the other. But then when you see that, you'll see that it's so different from this divine presence that we know as God. That God knows is you. You're a great hero to the heavens. You dropped into this little, what we'll call evil space, which is again like that, like a splinter on top of the ocean. It's so small, it's so unimaginably not present. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion. You ever have like a flitting thing in your mind for a split second? You wasn't sure it wasn't, it's gone. Well, the entirety of the earth, in contrast to spiritual experience, is less than nothing. But we're here because it somehow rose up somewhere in the infinity of the expanse, the great expanse of heaven. And so we're here to clean it up. We're a cleanup crew. But there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing that's not angelic, aware, intelligent, kind, true, powerful. And it's powerful in every sense. All the great spiritual people I've known have been very, very brilliant. They might not know it. They call it like emotional intelligence, psychological intelligence. Well, spiritual intelligence, you pierce through the void. You see God all day. Imagine that. All we have to do is clean up our act a little bit, writing our issues on paper. In other words, separating our conditioned experience from our identity is the only work we have to do. And it's so easy. And it makes us the laziest person in the world if we don't want to do it. Then we don't have to do it, but you're going to roll around in the mud for centuries and eons to come. And it's unnecessary, especially today, when we're offered this perfect gift. Illumination, God consciousness, the beatific vision, the vision of God. And this is not being said because there's anything wrong with any of us, but like, let's end it today. It's unnecessary, it's indecent. And we're not going to end it by standing up for this issue or that issue or this right or that right. It's by sitting down quietly. Or walking hand in hand with the one we love along the edge of the pond, just appreciating the day. In other words, we'll float from one activity to the other activity without ever needing to catch our breath. We'll just float through life. These are not just words. I mean, you're in that condition. There are thousands and thousands of books about these things, and spiritual experience, cosmic consciousness, whatever you call it. And it's, you don't have to go to a church. Your religion will be from dawn to dawn, in the early evening hours, when the purple shades of evening start dropping. You'll know Him, the only God. Because you're of Him, the only God. It's an infinite purity. It's an infinite you. There is a God. There is a you that is identical to God in experience. There are endless wonders in this delicate, yet we could say infinitely powerful space. When you're standing there working with people, you'll feel God himself. God will be moving through you and healing anything and everyone and empowering everyone. You'll be aware of all that there is, not just the silliness of this world, but the wonder of you, the spiritual you, the heroic you that dropped into this field of inquiry to find out what it is. And now you know that it's nuts. So now you relieve yourself of your conditioned experience from birth to this moment. So let's do that together right now. My friends in Tibet had something called the time machine mandala, the time machine meditation. We're going to do that right now, just to show how simple it is. You can call things hypnosis, you can this, that, it's all the same. But when you know there's a God and you're with a master teacher or my friends, or then you simply do it and you know there's a God and there's no, it's not even personal, it's an impersonal openness that we experience in our expression, in our thoughts, and the main thing, our work is to be aware of other people that are worthwhile, that are worthy, and be there for them whenever we can in whatever way, and acknowledge their spirituality and keep building them and building them. In a few short years, this won't be. And we will have created the last church. But there'll be no need of a candle or even the sunlight. For God himself shall be its light. Let's see what that looks like by stepping through the time machine meditation. Rather than spending months or years working on this, we're going to do it in the next 3 minutes here. I'm going to count back from 100 to 90, at which point we're going to be completely quiet inside. We will have relived our whole life from birth to present, or all of our lives to present, and see what we've learned, understand what we are, and let go of all the fear, the pain, the shoulds, the woulds. It's all coming at us from that stupid little thing we call Satan, Mephistopheles, the dark force, right? So if we just address it like it's nothing, you see all these demons in the Tibetan mandalas and all, they're simply symbolic of those energy forces, and if you don't relate to them, you'll transform them or they'll disappear. So all of our conditioned experience, anything that impinges on the finenesses of our sound senses, will be gone at 90. Relax your whole body. Let all your muscles go slack. Feel all your joints, your shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers, all down through your spinal column, your hip joints, your knees, your ankles and feet. Feel everything relax in a moment, just like that. Be aware of deep, rhythmic breathing. At 90, we will have relived our entire existence or existences, and we'll let go of all the things that we're not quite capable of letting go of to this moment. But by 90, we will let go. We'll be as we were before time was, before churches saw light, before names were named. Before anything was, you were this divine presence. We're walking back there now. We're there at 90. The time machine meditation into eternal God. Just the breathing. 100. 99. 98. 97. 96. Just the breathing. 95. 94. You are this presence. That's your body. That's what you are. It's what you gave up to be here, to find out what's wrong. You lived through that. There's nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly innocent. And the world puts all this stuff on you. And the meditation relieves you of it. You're God's holy and perfect instrument. We're there at 90. 95. 94. 93. 92. 91. 'All the answers to everything that humankind has prayed for over the centuries is in your heart and soul to provide. 90. 'Thank you. We're going to go down to 80 at this point, at which time we're going to wake up early one morning after having practiced a small amount of empowerment meditation every day, just to remind us where we're going. And God will be with us. We don't have to worry about anything. We don't even have to pray in a sense. We just, from this moment forever. Not that God wasn't. This is an empowerment session just to remind us. From this moment, God, this infinite awareness and intelligence and wonderfulness will be with you. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to need. You'll combat the dark forces. You'll fulfill yourself and the lives of those you love with ease and wonder and a whole lot of kindness. Kindness isn't a weakness. It's not a human emotional kindness. It's a divine presence. Stronger than steel, harder than diamonds, more valuable than diamonds and pearls. It's so wonderful. It's so you. You own your future by falling back into the quiet. At 80, we wake up 3 months from now after having practiced a small amount of empowerment meditation each day, or a lot, whatever, just being aware and conscious of it. We're there at 80. See what it looks like. after having reminded ourselves in a kind of disciplined way every day of the fact there's nothing wrong and that God himself will be with us to clear the path. In Tibet, when I was up in the mountains, the monks would say that the mountains are in your mind. And one time there was a snow mountain, a white snow mountain, they say that's in your mind. And the more humble you are, the more they had no desire to climb mountains, just to see they're within you. I remember seeing Everest one morning from some miles away, and the lamas played the big horns. It was like, I don't know, they're 9 feet long, and it comes up with the first rays of sun. And if you're out in the mountains, you'll see that it takes a long time for the sun to go down. It could take hours. Or when the light starts coming up from the shadow of night, it's one color at a time, slowly. And with the first color, I remember soft golden with a purplish in it, and you hear the sounds of the monks' horns. And so one of the lamas said that the white line, it was the purity within yourself, and you're so pure that it's not only the mountains are inside you, this little white snow line is in your thought. And that means, it's like my samurai friend, like where the last aspect of believing that you exist as a person in this world, that snow line, that white snow line, that's so pure, so small in contrast to the mountain, but you become that humble inside. It's the most wonderful condition anyone can ever dream. And it's yours, and it's mine, because it's his, because we're his, because we are him. To God, we're him. And I know this is not understandable, but when you get very quiet, there's no difference between anything and infinity, eternity. You are God's best friend. We'll wake up 3 months from now one morning and see how wonderful it looks after having practiced a little disciplined meditation daily. We're there at 80, 90, 89, 88, 87, 86, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81, 80, 'There's nothing wrong with us. We've never been our problems or the solution to our problems. We're made of the light of a million suns. We're a throne of stardust. That's what we are. And in this experience of eternity, of God, of infinity, you'll understand everything, because it's understandable. And every infinitesimal hairline of something out of kilter, you'll understand it, you'll rearrange it, you'll fix it, you'll heal whoever, whatever, whenever, as you please. You're stepping outside of their time, those that are lost in this place, and you'll lift every decent person you know to this heavenly height of being decent, kind, and true. Isn't it you? Isn't a deep well of eternity a place in your own heart and soul? We quiet ourselves, we let go of the conditioning, and we're home. Free our mind, and the rest will follow. Free our heart, and the soul will follow. And how much our mom gave for us. She lived for us. That makes sense. Doesn't matter if things weren't right in a different life. To see inside another person's soul and realize what they've given. And this is what you've given to God and to all the beings that seem to be lost in this world. You're going to walk through this like a great warrior, in a very quiet sense. And that's what a great warrior, a great teacher, a great mom is. They're there for you, to protect the innocent, to empower the decent, and to give their very life and soul for you. I'm describing you to have fallen into this atmosphere and lived through all the madness. You gave your happiness, your life for this quest. And now you understand what happened. And now you accept the fact that there's nothing wrong with you, but there's everything right with you, that God is with you. You'll heal, you'll help, you'll redirect, you'll correct, you'll teach, you'll empower. You'll give your friendship very freely. And you won't think of yourself and what you need, and giving, you will give everything away all the time. Because that's what God is. God gives God away all the time. And to think that you have something in this world that's worth anything, that's the mistaken consciousness that we let go of through this process, in this quest for the uttermost God. God gives God away forever. It's in consciousness. And when you're there, it's mighty beautiful. You're mighty beautiful. You're good, you're kind, you're true. You're God's friend. Nothing can fight you. In a few short months, you'll know this. And realize what you gave up to be here. And the rest are just picking wildflowers from the mountainside in the afternoon sun. It's going to be a great joy to reawaken, to remember why you're here. And it's going to be a greater joy to fix your friends and loved ones. This time around, you will fulfill your spiritual destiny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, sir.